Hello Taurus, welcome to your monthly horoscope for June for the Sun or the Ascendant. Now as ever, I'm going to give you the key strands to begin with to look out for. Please stay with me. I will then dive deep to give you in forensic detail all the key influences and dates for your sign in particular. Now this month begins with the Sun in the sign of Gemini, which for you is house 2. Very much to do with everyday expenditure, our self-worth, our need to have some kind of foundation in our world that gives us a sense of security. It can be about money, but it can be about our enjoyment of more earthy and sensual pleasures. But also, of course, your ruler Venus is with you in your sign. And one of the wonderful things to tell you is through the first 12 days of this month, your ruler forges a semi-sextile to Mars. Now, Mars and Jupiter are conjunct at the beginning of this month, the first 4 days, in your 12th house. Something to do with past knowledge, experience or contacts could prove lucky for you as the month begins, but that link between Mars and Venus may be more to do with your romantic situation, or perhaps it is making the most of your creative talents and flair. But opportunity can knock with Venus in your sign. You're pulling goodness to you. It's just the way it comes about may not be particularly obvious. Some subtle events may unfold which can surprise but also delight you. Now, of course, Mercury has been retrograde in your sign, and something may have been a little bit stop-start recently, and maybe even you tried something to try and improve your financial situation, which didn't quite pay off. Once Gemini comes out of shadow on the 4th, moves back to Gemini on the 13th, and Venus, your ruler, moves into Gemini on the 23rd, you can see the hard results of all your hard work. So look out for that. Now I'm going to tell you about the retrogrades to Saturn and also Neptune, which join up with Pluto. I'm also going to tell you about a very potent full moon which occurs on the 14th in the sign of Sagittarius, which has big implications for the type of associations that you're keeping, particularly because this event squares up with Neptune, the planet of idealism. Now, from the time of the summer solstice in the north, the winter in the south, but of course, astrology is a Mediterranean construct, so we say the summer solstice. From that time, the pace of life is going to pick up for you a lot. And there's also a sparkling new moon in the sign of Cancer, brilliant for you on the 29th. So please stay with me for all the details. But if you would like to understand how more serious astrology can impact on your overall life, if you give me 3 pieces of personal information, I can give you a roadmap that you can use for the rest of your life, but also a 12-month forecast based on your personal birth data. No two charts are the same. It's totally unique to you. And with my special offer, you can get 30% off. Please see the link beneath this video. And finally, if you've yet to subscribe to my channel, I'd be honoured if you did so now. Please click or tap on the bell notification symbol. So Taurus, your monthly horoscope for June begins with the Sun, embracing that new moon from the end of last month. And security and stability are often very, very important to your sign. You're a fixed sign, therefore you like a degree of continuity. So that's given you the push to try to firm up the foundations in your world. But Mars and Jupiter together in a conjunction for the first 4 days, broadly within 3 degrees, they're actually very much focused on the past in some ways, or the more psychological dimension. So whereas the Sun's asking you to be very much in the physical world, both Mars and Jupiter are asking you to be much more conscious potentially of the spiritual world, or perhaps past experiences, past knowledge, or even past contacts that have been important to you. Working behind the scenes in some way can actually turn out to be something that could be very fortunate for you. But of course, Mercury's retrograde can be niggly. It can also be an opportunity to rejig, to recalibrate, repair, renew, reorder. And so once Mercury comes out of the retrograde on the 3rd and out of shadow on the 4th, I think you will have learnt a lot through its process of entering the sign of Gemini and then retreating in its retrograde initially in that sign back into your sign. I think there's something you've tried over the last 3 or 4 weeks at the start of June that didn't quite pan out as you hoped. But as you enter into June, there is the chance to get more clarity. Maybe you need to rethink your approach. Maybe those past skills need to be redeployed in a fresh way. The world's changing at the speed of knots, whether it's technology, artificial intelligence, automation, robotics, and just people's rights. Things are speeding along at an enormous velocity, and sometimes it's a bit hard to keep up. So if you find ways to use your past assets in a new format, that's really making the most of your opportunities. Of course, having Venus in your sign is just going to be enhancing your gorgeousness, which is obviously part of your very core. But seriously, it's linked to Mars. Even in a romantic context, there could be someone that shows a non-verbal interest in you. So it could be someone who kind of looks away a bit shyly if you see them, or maybe it's an instinct you get of someone's interest in you. Maybe you're going to give yourself some kind of dynamic makeover, particularly once Mercury goes direct, and that can be a good thing to do. You have a great sense of taste. The way you dress, the way you have your hair is often, casts a particular spell on those that encounter you, and your ability to captivate is definitely maximized in this first third of the month. So do use that Venus semi-sextile to Mars to your best advantage. Now, of course, Saturn does go into a retrograde on the 4th. What does this mean? Well, Saturn has been working its way through your sector of work and responsibilities briefly from the 27th of March to the 2nd of August 20, and then from the 17th of December 20 till now. You're either taking on more responsibility or separating from something that no longer works for you, or you've started to work for yourself, you've begun a new job, you've retrained in some way. All these things are possible. Now, Saturn has a reputation for being a planet of punishment, but Saturn can also be the planet of reward. And there could be an opportunity from now through to October where if you roll your sleeves up, because you can be very adhered to a task, you can really give it everything. That application is and determination to be very consistent in your approach is one of your greatest gifts. So don't see Saturn retrograde as only a portent of mischief around work. It actually forges a superb link with the Sun, for example, from the 13th to the 19th this month. And that could be the beginning of a new work opportunity or the chance to raise your profile around your own talents. But the full moon, which occurs on the 14th, is tricky because Neptune's involved in the mix. Now for you, it's a straight 2nd, 8th house influence. The 2nd house is our everyday finance, our sense of self-worth, our basic foundations. The 8th house for you, although it's in Sagittarius, this particular event, is very much about where we're most invested. But of course, the sign of Sagittarius is about knowledge. So if you're gaining much greater knowledge about how you can plan your finances forward, that's a smart thing to do. But just know, because Neptune is in a T-square with the Sun and the Moon, that can create a swirling mist of uncertainty. So if you're getting any advice, I wouldn't say it'd be a bad thing to get a second or third opinion, whether it's on property, whether it's on savings, whether it's on share investments, whether it's even on Bitcoin. Make sure that you're getting as much clarity as possible. Now, the 21st is a really key date in the calendar, because it's the summer solstice in the north, winter in the south, but it's also the beginning of the second cardinal quadrant of the year. The cardinal signs are all about action, and they're also about leadership. For you, this occurs in house 3. So life's going to be speeding up for you. Also on the 23rd, Venus, your ruler, moves into the second house of your situation. I think this can coincide with something that you're going to be celebrating financially. Not just towards the end of this month, it could go on into the start of July as well. But Neptune does go into a retrograde on the 28th. What does this mean? Well, Neptune, I should say as well, of course, that Mercury moves on the 13th into the sign of Gemini, but it likes being there. So the clarity of thought that you can bring to those financial conversations you might have can be sharpened up with that. Venus can just bring extra luck, and also perhaps, you know, a saucy invite or text message or some kind of playful exchange which can give you a boost. But seriously, Neptune going retrograde till the 4th of December is in your sector of idealism and friendship. You've probably, since 2012, in some way or another, transformed your life away from just more of the physical construct. There has probably been something that's developed, whether it's your associations or your style of life, where you've wanted to follow your dream in some way. So Neptune going backwards is just saying balance the dream with a dash of realism. But it doesn't mean to say that you shouldn't let your pragmatism pulverize your passion by any means. The 29th sees the new moon in the sign of Cancer. Your words can have a big impact on people. Do believe that. But also, it squares to Jupiter. Jupiter's still in your 12th house. It's not going to move into your sign until 2023, and that's obviously going to be really exciting for you. But this square just suggests that you could hear something in the following month going into July, which sounds really intriguing. Don't get too excited. Make sure that you're working through all the details till you get to the facts. Mars is actually in a square with Pluto as the month draws to a close. And, you know, politics is something, unfortunately, that is in every strand of life. For you, Pluto continues in your sector of knowledge, travel, higher education. The more that you embrace change in your world, something that some Taurus people can find quite tricky, the more that you keep moving and keep evolving, which is what Pluto wants us to do. When we resist Pluto, that causes problems. So I think the square with Mars at the end of the month points towards perhaps an outstanding anxiety or past injustice or hurt or life event, which is still in some ways inhibiting you. But there's a chance with Pluto in the mix to use your own power in order to galvanize yourself beyond something that could be a potential block. And though the Sun is on that new moon squaring Jupiter, it's actually also in a semi-sextile with your ruler Venus. So I think your communicational skills can be very importantly fortunate for you around money as you make your way into July. So there's an awful lot for you to go for this month, Taurus. It's really exciting for you. Thank you so much for joining me, and goodbye for now.